Through business, building relationships, and building Waterloo Region. 570 News presents Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy. Great to have you with us. I'm Glenn Pelletier, and as usual, with two of the greatest guys in radio who have become, personalities in their own right.
The greatest guys in radio.
Well, listen,
we must be the only guys in radio this week.
Listen, I love you guys, okay? Here's why. You hear the term president of Chamber of Commerce, and you think, you position it, you picture in your mind a certain type, right?
Yeah.
Has his stuff together, smart guy, business-minded, conservative.
So what you're saying was the opposite of that?
You guys are personalities in your own right. And it's been a pleasure working with you now for a year and a half. Now, welcome to Business. That's Greg DeRocher. He is the president and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. There's Ian McLean. He is the president and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. And we've got a great show lined up today.
Yeah.
I'd be really excited to talk to Chris Wood. What's his title at the airport? General manager?
General manager.
Of the Region of Waterloo International Airport.
Head honcho.
This airport has really put so many aspects of our community put us on the map. But the airport signals to the business community that this is a big league community.
Well, we are a big league community, and the airport it plays a huge role in drawing people to our community, both for business and pleasure. So we're going to have a good discussion with Chris and talk about all the good things that are happening here and why it's important to the region. And I think Oktoberfest. We're going to talk in a few minutes just to get a quick update from Dave McNeil of Oktoberfest. We've had a fantastic week of festivals, and both of us were at the President's Luncheon last week. So we'll hear just briefly from him on what's going or how things went with Oktoberfest. But then we're gonna that's one of the ways that the airport plays a big role because lots of people are coming into town. And Greg, we have Small Business Week coming up, and the European Union free trade agreement. So lots of big.
I'm glad you brought that up.
We need 2 hours.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm hearing far more pros than cons.
Absolutely.
Over this deal.
Oh, there's no question.
Now, what's your take on it?
Free trade is free trade. Free trade has to happen. Look what free trade did for us already. It changed the entire output of our country. It made us one of the single most important trade partners to the United States. The free trade has done nothing but good for us. Yes, there's always going to be some fallout. There's always
there will be some losers. There always are some losers.
There has to be.
But overall, far more winners.
I think when you I've been watching the news and reading the reports. I think one of the things that's interesting is there's a reason why I don't think there's going to be the same level of my dad ran in the 1988 election, which was the free trade election, and that was a very contentious. I don't think it's going to be there this time for a couple of reasons. One is both the free trade agreement with the United States and the North American free trade agreement.
Well,
it's beyond any doubt whatsoever that Canada has been a huge winner from both those deals.
Absolutely.
And what we've just seen is we now have a free trade agreement with 25% of the world's economic output. 28 countries. I mean, just the sheer magnitude of this is to give credit where credit's due. The Prime Minister deserves huge credit, and they brought all the provinces along.
500 million.
Greg, I'm glad you brought that up.
Absolutely.
In '88, actually it began in '84 when Mulroney first started talking about it, and then the '88 campaign on free trade, and he won the election in Free Trade Act, and after it was passed, there was so much hoopla and discussion about that deal. The market is what, a quarter of a billion? Mm-hmm. This is a quarter of a billion. This is twice the size.
Absolutely.
And it kind of just crept in. There was very little discussion about it in the media prior to it. This is a bigger deal than that.
Craig Oliver
was a bigger deal.
Craig Oliver the other day on the radio or on Power Play I was watching, and he said, and he's been around since Christ was a carpenter. He's been around for 100 years.
Yeah,
I know. I shouldn't have said that. But anyways,
was he part of the union?
He's been around for a long time, and
he just got back from church.
I know. I did just get back, but he's been around for a long time. And he said, in 1988, he said people were talking about losing your cultural identity, about people being displaced, about how we would be swallowed up by the United States, and none of it happened.
None of it.
And now everyone just agrees that yes, there were some losers and there was some displacement, but we have created new sectors because of that opportunity. And it's going to be the same with the
And God love John Turner. He put up a good fight in that debate. He tried.
But we're going to have to come back to that because we got a full show. We're going to do a whole show on the EU.
A whole show on the 88 debates with Turner.
Well, I know.
That's a different
time. But we got to do a whole show on the EU.
We have 2 hours today because you're dragging
this out. We got a lot to get to. Our sponsor is Save On Energy through the hydro companies. And our first guest to talk about saving on energy, especially for the small business owner, is John Finch.
Folks.
Yeah, right on, Ian. The first step when looking at energy savings is definitely to either contact your local electric utility, that being Kitchener-Wilmot Hydro, Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro, and Waterloo North Hydro. Contact your utility and ask to speak to the conservation team. Mm-hmm. And what we offer right now is we have technical specialists on our teams, and they will go out to a business and do a walkthrough. Mm-hmm. So just as it sounds, we do a walkthrough, we look for opportunities, we work with the facility manager, and the first step is identifying where the opportunities are.
So things like, and so just to be very practical, we talked about lighting as being one of the low-hanging fruit last week.
Yeah.
But lighting's one. You look at HVAC systems.
AC, air conditioning is big right now. We're getting a lot of interest from companies looking at air conditioning. That's another one.
Okay, what about things like installation, things that you can't see? And is it installation, or is this more visible electrical usage of electricity?
Typically, it starts with technology. So in most buildings, lighting, air conditioning, controls. Mm-hmm. Controls are a big one these days. You look at manufacturing facilities. You have air compressors and process equipment and chillers. So it really depends on the building type, but I think the first step is contact one of the electric utilities that I mentioned and
get that assessment done.
And
so does that once you've got the assessment done, it really gives you a plan. So
exactly,
you can say and we're not talking about yes, you do large businesses, but you do everyone, small, medium, and large size business. So if you're a medium sized business and you got 10 or 20 employees and you've got a plan, you say, I can't do it all at once, but I at least know what I need to do. Can you stage this? I mean, is there any reason why you couldn't stage it over, say, a couple of years to fit it into your budget so you can make those improvements in terms of energy reduction and saving of cost?
Yeah, and that's a good plan for a lot of smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, to break it apart. And you really got to build it into your regular maintenance within your facility. It's got to make sense for the business. Mm-hmm. And you got to look at the different pieces of equipment or the different opportunities, and you need to look at the return on investment. And that's what we help with. We will help figure out where the best investment of your money is within your facility, and then build it into your plan.
So I think last week you mentioned that if you replace your old fluorescent lighting system with a new one, I mean, the return on investment could be, so say, and give us some order of magnitude for an average size, maybe $4,000 or $5,000 for lighting.
Sure.
And you can see that return on investment in 1 year.
Absolutely. And, we'll pay up to 50% of the project cost. So you can see that our incentives for these retrofits definitely help the return on investment. And again, that's what you got to get from an assessment. That's what we're going to break down for you and give you that plan so that you got a good strategy for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years.
So your plan comes in and says, okay, on the lighting system it could be $5,000. Your AC, you may need to put another $10,000 in, but we'll start with the lighting. You're saying on the first on that $5,000 investment, the Save on Energy program would rebate half of that amount?
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And, for some businesses, what they'll do is, and I've been a part of it, you do one project. So, for example, let's say a business invests $5,000. We give them a check for $2,500. They take that $2,500 and reinvest it into an AC retrofit, an air conditioning retrofit.
So do the next thing on the list.
That's right.
Which ultimately lowers your whole. And that's what the program is. Save on Energy is about reducing energy demand in the province. The byproduct for business is that it's saving money off their bottom line if they do make those investments.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think for everyone, it's helping the environment by using less energy.
It's a lot of wins for everyone with this, and we're definitely out there trying to promote these programs and invite us in. I mean, we know what we're talking about, and we can we've helped. Alone in Kitchener right now, I was actually looking at our numbers, and 365 businesses have participated in this program. So I want everyone to participate right across Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge.
Well, John, you make a great case for it. It's always a delight to have you on the program. Is there a website where people can go to get more information?
Absolutely. If people go to saveonenergy.ca.
That's great. And in the coming weeks, we'll look at some of the specific programs again, and we can drill down a little more.
All right. Thanks for coming in. That's John Finch of Kitchener-Wilmot Hydro as Business to Business continues, powered by Save On Energy.
Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. To Business, powered by Save On Energy, featuring local businesses, solutions, and success stories, connecting community through business on 570 News.
Okay. Welcome back to Business on 570.
Very disappointed in you.
And we are being produced, as always, by the capable Candace Cobbing and Catherine Drake. We've got Chris Wood, the general manager of the region of Waterloo International Airport, coming up on the show. But, gentlemen, it's been another successful Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest. Closing ceremonies have taken place. The bung has been placed back in the barrel. And we are delighted to have with us to talk about the week that was, the 10 days that were, the executive director of KW Oktoberfest, Dave McNeil. Welcome back to the program, Dave.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be here.
David, it's Greg DeRocher. Congratulations on another successful Oktoberfest. And I guess most people would say, well, Dave, it's time for you to rest. But you know what it's time for right now, don't you?
It's funny how, you roll into the second weekend and you see the end in sight, and then already people have ideas for next year, and you're right back into it. The only barrels left on the street are those under our eyes.
Yeah. So give us a high level. I know you don't have all the details, but give us your sense of how the festival was. I know we've heard from the fest halls that I was at and our Chamberfest event. Many of them were sold out and well attended, but give us sort of the high level of how things went this year.
Yeah, for sure. Just by our tours that we do around with some of our sponsors and some of our partners, all the festivals were packed again. People were having a good time. All of the events that we run through Oktoberfest Inc., all of our numbers were up. For example, our Tour de France, we had, probably 100 more riders than we had last year. Our 5K fun run, we had about 80 more runners than we did last year. You guys in the Pancake Breakfast, I think it was a record year in Uptown Waterloo for that.
Yeah, that was a huge success.
Yeah,
a combination of just perfect weather.
Oh, exactly. That first weekend.
In anticipation of that event, it just perpetuates itself.
Glenn Pelletier, the Titan of the Tongs.
Titan of the Tongs, serving up. Listen, I got to ask you, Dave. This was your first year in this capacity of executive director. How did you find that experience?
You know what? I thought I knew an awful lot about the festival, and you realize just how much and how wide the breadth of it is. I was standing back at a lot of events, just sort of observing a few things for the first time, and the scope of everything we do and the work our volunteers do to bring this festival to the community. It's just, to me, it was really inspiring, and I hadn't seen a number of the events before, so it's just something else to sit back and watch it from this angle.
Now looking at that as well, Dave, from that new angle, you're looking at the economic impact you must see is absolutely enormous for the region. We've got Chris Wood coming up, as you know, the general manager of the Waterloo Region Airport. That's going to be a real tool in the future to build that economic development as well, as people start to get to know what's going on, and we're driving people in by flying them into the airport.
No, exactly. And it's Passport to Success is one of the events that, I've been involved in other years, more so the dinner on the Wednesday night. But what I said to the team this year is, we really have to develop that story and find out what over the 19 years, what has that event driven? And early indications are, Bearskin, WestJet, American, those were all initiatives that, were spun out of that Passport to Success. So, we really need to dive down deep. I know this year had some, they think they're going to land a few of the people that were in town having a look around. So, it's one of those stories that we really need to develop and get out there and tell better as well.
Well, great. Dave, congratulations on your new post. You're going to do a great job as executive director, and congratulations on another successful Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest. And we all know what that event means to the local economy. It's a real boon to our community. Thank you, David, for your time.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. It's great having media partners like you and the Chamber. It really helps us along, too.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, that's good. Right?
Yeah.
All right. We continue now with Business to Business. By the way, if you want to drop us an email at any time, feel free. biz2biz@570news.com. That's biz with a Z. biz2biz at 570news.com. Delighted to have with us, he's been waiting patiently, Chris Wood is the general manager of the region of Waterloo International Airport.
One of my favorite guys, because he's got some fantastic services out there that I've had the pleasure of using. I've used all of them, actually. I've used the Bearskin, I've used the WestJet, and of course I've used the American, and I've got some great stories about American because they're really a customer service oriented organization, in that, in the last two times that I've used them this past year, one to Las Vegas and one to Oklahoma City, all on business, by the way, chamber-related business.
It's great to hear.
When I would tweet out, that I'm just boarding the plane at American in Waterloo or in Chicago or in wherever I happen to be, what was amazing to me is American would tweet right back. And they would tweet back in a very personal way. They would say, well, Greg, I hope you have a great flight. I hope you enjoy our services. That's absolutely incredible. That made me feel warm and fuzzy. And even when there was challenges, and I said, I can recall this one coming out of Vegas. Gee, I hope I make my connection in Chicago to Waterloo. And they came right back with, we'll watch that, no problem. And when I landed in Chicago, they said, Greg, you're going to make your flight, no problem, and here's the gate you go to. That's incredible.
Amazing.
Now, Chris, you've been at the airport for about 3 years now.
It's actually been 4.
Wow, it just seems like forever.
Feels longer.
I'm just kidding. But talk to us about. I mean, we do, and I think one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is a tie into Oktoberfest, but also we know we have got to encourage the community as a whole, not just the business community, but also the pleasure travelers as well, to know what's on offer at the airport. So talk to us about who the regularly scheduled carriers are, so that people know and where they can get to. Because I think you can safely say you can get anywhere regionally here in southwestern Ontario. You can get into Ottawa and other places, but you can certainly get across the province, around the country, and in fact globally, not only the U.S. but into other markets. So tell us how that works out of the airport.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for having me here today. It's always great to talk about the airport, and I'm so far enjoying the experience being here with you guys. But we have multiple
experience
flights.
Is the operative word.
Yeah. We have multiple flights daily to Ottawa, served by Bearskin Airlines, which is actually Canada's oldest airline by name. They've been around 50 years this year, just had their anniversary, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. So that's a real good airline to have and a good service to have. It's always busy, and lots of politicians and others moving back to Ottawa multiple times a week. So we also had WestJet to Calgary, which has been here about 7 years now. We have daily service to Calgary year-round. And our newest addition was American Airlines, which has about 18 months now. It has been going in the right direction. The numbers are going up. And so far, American's quite pleased with the response from the community, although we could use a few more people on every flight just to ensure their success.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is what American, everybody knows the WestJet equipment, Generally 737s, I believe.
Yeah, that's all they have. Well, they are starting to get into the smaller ones now for
Q400. Yes, I read about that. But not too many people. Maybe they remember the other airline, Northwest, when they were here, what equipment they used to go into Detroit. But I don't think people are well aware of what American uses. They use jets.
Commuter jets, yeah.
Yeah, it's an ERJ, so it's an Embraer regional jet, very similar to the Canadair regional jet. 50 seats, all jet service, twice a day, which is just fantastic. An hour after you leave Waterloo Region, you're in Chicago.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how long it takes to get there, how quickly you can get to Chicago, and then with the time change, it's like you
get there at the same time you leave.
It's amazing. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk more about that. Our guest is Chris Wood. He is the general manager of the region of Waterloo International Airport. Coming back with more on Business to Business on 570 News.
We'll be right back with more Business to Business powered by Save on Energy. Call in with your questions at star 570 570 2545 or 1-800-570-5715. Just what you know. It's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy.
And welcome back to Business on 570 News. Glenn Pelletier, Ian McLean, Greg DeRocher, and our guest Chris Wood. He is the general manager of the region of Waterloo International Airport. You can check them out at waterlooairport.ca. That's waterlooairport.ca.
Well, and we were talking just before the break and actually through the break about the places you can get to from the airport. And Greg's already talked about American and getting to Las Vegas and to Oklahoma. And I just had a great experience of taking off from Waterloo International Airport and ending up with a little hiccup, but ending up in Kelowna, BC, so for the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. So talk about where you can get to. I mean, we talked about that. Where can you get to? And pretty much that's anywhere around the world. But also one of the things that people have talked about is this price competitive? To leave from Waterloo Regional International Airport, is it cost competitive with Buffalo and Toronto and London and other places? Because it's the convenience, but also the pricing. So talk about both those things as it relates to the airport.
Yeah, so you can get through Calgary, Ottawa, and Chicago, all has great opportunities for connections. Calgary has at least 10 destinations on the West Coast and beyond with WestJet. Our flight actually has a 30-minute stop in Calgary and continues on to Kelowna. So it's
or Victoria.
You don't even have to change airplanes, but you can get on another one and be in Vancouver or Abbotsford or Edmonton anytime. So Chicago, Chicago is one of the biggest hubs in the world. 250 opportunities out of Chicago to go connect on every day. So you can end up in Seoul, Korea. You can end up in Tokyo, or you could end up in Las Vegas just by walking down the terminal in Chicago and getting on another airplane. Ottawa, you can Bearskin does have a loose connection with Air Canada. You can book through tickets on Air Canada and connect in Ottawa.
So anywhere in the East Coast, you can get to the East Coast from
you get to Halifax. You can get into Montreal. The thing about price, it is a good point, Ian, and the airline pricing, you need to have a PhD to figure it out. It's quite different.
Well, at least I can figure it out.
Then. Dr. Pelletier, and
Pelletier.
The key is, and what all the airlines tell me is 21 days is the magic number. So if you can book 21 days in advance, you're going to get your best fare. It is a supply and demand curve, so the closer you get to the flight, the price is going to go up. As well as the number of seats as they get sold, the price is going to go up. So if you can do 21 days, that's the key. Yeah, we are a little bit more expensive if you're within that 21 day, and especially the 7-day window. You're going to pay more, but you're going to pay more in Toronto and Buffalo and things as well.
But you know what? If you factor in traveling to get to Buffalo,
talk about that.
That's something you can forget.
Just talk about one thing I want to talk about. Talk about parking. So if I end up going and saying I'm going for a week to Kelowna for this conference, it's going to cost me $42, $6 a day. That's 1 day at Toronto Airport if you take if that.
Yeah, so we've really put our pricing to attract people, and I think the difficult thing is people don't necessarily make the decision, the whole picture. They don't decide on how long it's going to take them to get to Toronto in bad traffic, potentially bad weather. They don't look at parking. They don't look at potentially a hotel the night before. If you do the math, we're always going to come out on top.
Now, I've had a few occasions. Actually, one of my staff members just recently. One of my staff members had to go down to Orlando to see his mother. His mother wasn't well, and he could not find a better price than flying out of our airport.
When we started with American, we talked for years to get this service, and one of the things, we had to make some deals with them, but we also said to them, look, you need to price it the same as Toronto, and people will make their decisions. If it's the same, they're going to pick us, right? And they have really stuck true to that. There's been some anomalies, but they've, credit to them, they fixed it right away. I religiously look at the pricing and I call them on it, and they fix it. So they are really sticking to it, and they're the same or lower than Toronto.
Now I think the other thing that people have a problem with is they are always looking for the direct flight. Everybody wants a direct flight. There's nothing like going from A directly to B. But let me talk a little bit about my experiences of going through Chicago. Chicago actually is incredibly convenient in spite of the fact it's this massive airport.
O'Hare is one of the most efficient airports in the world.
It is. I want to tell you, you are a lot closer to your next flight than you are if you're out of Terminal 3 in Toronto. I can tell you that.
We equate it to you're not really getting a nonstop flight going out of Toronto because your first leg is driving on the 401. So you can be in Chicago almost as fast as you can drive to Pearson. So you can start your journey from Waterloo, and it's a lot more relaxed. And Greg, you were speaking during the break about the 40 steps from your car to the airplane, and that's true. And we've really done a lot of things. We're a small airport, but we've really done a lot of things. The free baggage carts, the free Wi-Fi. We now have a licensed restaurant in our departure lounge, and now we have a restaurant in the public side of the terminal as well. So we're really trying to do those things. The $6 a day parking. The easiest way to get more service is what everybody wants, is to fill the service we have.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's one of the things that we were talking about this, and when we knew you were coming on and saying we've been talking about this, but we're going to make it happen this fall or early in the winter. Is both of us are going to find a time, take a couple of people who use the service, and go and do a chamber to chamber thing. We'll get the Chicago Board of Trade, do some things to highlight how business. From our perspective, how business people can get involved. But one of the things we said is we want to partner with you, the Regional Waterloo, the tourism folks, with Minto, and say we should do an event here to highlight ourselves for locally, and have an event where we can have the airlines like WestJet and Bearskin and American highlight what their services are, and do an event that invites the community in. So we're going to do that, and we want to sit down. But I think that's one of the things that you've always expressed an interest in doing, and it's time for us to do that.
Have their equipment on display so people can go in and have a look at what the plane's like. And
I should also mention Sunwing is coming back December 23rd, but they're going to Cancun this year. So we've had 4 years of Punta Cana, which has been very well received in the community, always full. But this year they're going to do Mexico, Cancun, so we're looking forward to that as well, to have Sunwing.
Have you any numbers on that yet? Is it going well?
We haven't really heard, but we usually get numbers about 2 weeks out. But I know the first one will be sold out for Christmas. They're always sold out, the one before Christmas. So.
Chris, apart from people going to Chicago just to check it out and have a fun weekend or whatever, could you paint a picture for us? Who is the typical user of the Chicago service?
Yeah, it's interesting because we do some surveys, and Bearskin's 80-20 business to leisure, WestJet's 80-20 leisure to business, but American's really 50-50, and I think that was a surprise to all of us, including American, that the leisure passengers as well, going to Florida or going to Vegas or San Francisco, things like that, I see lots of families getting on that plane. But I also see a lot of business people.
When you say business, they're not necessarily conducting business in Chicago. They're going to O'Hare and then.
About 35% of the people actually stay in Chicago. Chicago's a great destination as well. I had the opportunity this summer. I took my family there and we had a great time. I have 2 young kids and they absolutely loved it. It's a fantastic city. New York, I spent a lot of time in New York, but Chicago is a really close second for me for favorite U.S. cities.
Well, and I guess one thing we want to leave people with, and we got to start banging the drum on this from the Chamber's perspective, both at Cambridge and ourselves, is use it or lose it.
Yep.
And I've been saying that for a lot of years, and keep repeating it. And I think, I want you to talk about that, because I think, to be fair, the region has invested by doing some subsidies, and which I think our chambers were supportive of. We need to get these services. It needs to be supported in a legitimate time frame. And so the message is, whether you're traveling for pleasure or for business, use it or lose it. Otherwise, we're not going to have these services, and you can get anywhere in the U.S. or around the world by using it. So talk about that.
Yeah, the subsidy thing really is a misnomer. We're basically giving them back all the revenue that they're giving us for the first 2 years. So really, we're out nothing. It's 2 years we forego revenue that we wouldn't have had in the first place to try and build the service. It is building. We are now in territory where they can stand on their own, which is this month is the first month. So we're hopeful that it's going to stay. We've done some things in the last few months. We've got a big billboard campaign starting. We've now joined the Toronto code, so when you book Toronto, Chicago, our flights pop up. We've seen an immediate jump in numbers from that. So
that's great.
So we're really trying. Again, I can't stress enough. The more you use it, the easier my job is to get more.
Very quickly before you go, just to paint a picture again. How long does it take to get to Chicago? So if you leave at say 7:20,
you're in Chicago at 7:20.
So you leave Waterloo region.
It's like magic.
You leave at 7:20 here, and you literally arrive at 7:20 there based on the time change.
Now it does change one time zone, to be fair, but
it's funny how it takes 2 hours to get home, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 1 hour flight.
It's a 1 hour flight, 53 minutes or something.
It's actually probably about the same travel distance, although this is a jet as Bearskin is to Ottawa.
Bearskin's about the same.
It's about the same to go to Ottawa. So it's very, very convenient, fast,
and once you get there, it's so easy to find. Like, it's just I just can't stress. I've done it 2 times, to Oklahoma City, to Las Vegas,
and it's getting better too. Chicago has done a lot of investment. They just opened a new runway 2 weeks ago, and they've invested in 30 kiosks that Canadians can now use at customs. So you can scan your passport at a kiosk and walk right through customs. So don't be afraid of the connection. It works great.
Well, I know a lot of guys I talk to is like they on their bucket list is to go to Wrigley Field, and you can do that right out of the airport.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
What a great way to spend a weekend.
Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Thank you very much,
Chris.
Chris Wood has been our guest, the general manager of the region of Waterloo International Airport. You are listening to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy.
Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. Waterloo region. And when businesses support each other, they support the community. Now back to Business, powered by Save On Energy on 570 News.
We are with Ian McLean, president of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce, and Greg DeRocher, he's president of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. They are, as always, in studio, Sundays at noon to 1 with myself, and it's Business to Business on 570. It is powered by Save On Energy. You guys want to rant again? When are you going to give up this rant?
We're not giving the rant up.
No. Never.
For those that aren't familiar with your previous 2 rants, you're going to make this a weekly deal. You guys are, quote, mad as hell, and you're not going to take it anymore, regarding Kitchener-Conestoga MPP Michael Harris's bill defeated in the legislature, Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act. This has got you guys just out of your minds.
But I think we need to qualify this. There was a private member's bill that solved a problem that exists for every municipality and all taxpayers across the province. It happened to be Michael's Bill 73, which was defeated in the legislature.
Oh, he had a lot of support
for us, because we are nonpartisan. We are not political. We want the problem solved. So, Greg,
absolutely,
give them the update, because I'm smoking hot today.
You're smoking hot. I'm smoking hot after what I heard in the elevator coming up to the studio today. You told me that your VP of Government Affairs, Art Sinclair, went down and met with ministry staff. And after what you told me, they told Art. You got to tell everybody, because this is maddening.
Well, so we've had this discussion about this the legislation that allows under the Ontario Labour Relations Act, which allows for unions to organize and be the sole, in this case the Carpenters Union, as an application to the Ontario Labour Relations Board. And it looks like, and it will happen, the region of Waterloo will be forced to negotiate all of its construction contracts with this one union.
So employers that have a relationship with that one union only.
That's it. So if you're a non-union construction, don't even bother applying because you can't get the job.
Or a different union.
Or a different union, you can't get the job. We don't care. You want to be a non-union shop, union shop, that's up to you. That's a business decision. So we're just saying it's not fair. The one example, Greg, you tell us about the wastewater plant, because this is exactly what ends up happening when you have the union. We had 27 bidders for a $130 million project.
Yep.
If this ruling comes through like everyone expects, it would have been down to 2. So
25 bidders would have just been eliminated, regardless of the strength of their bid.
Absolutely.
No, not entitled to bid.
Not entitled to bid. Couldn't even bid. So because we have been really angry about this. We've been talking to all the parties. We've been talking to our local representatives, but also our friends municipally, the regional chair, our Association of Municipalities Ontario. Everyone's on board of saying this needs to be fixed. I dispatch Art to go down because we're invited to the Minister of Labor's office in Queen's Park. And we're told by some political hack in his office, which is a political staffer, that we just really are not understanding this and that this has already been solved, and points to a piece of legislation. And Art, just so you know, has a lot of experience. He worked in Queen's Park for 12 years, and he's looking at this as this young punk. And this way I describe it, because this is a 23-year-old or some young fellow.
I think the word you used was flunky.
Flunky, but you know what? I guess it's because I'm a little angry. And
I like that word.
Gentlemen, try to speak your mind, will you?
Okay. So in any event, they try and describe that this problem is just a figment of the imagination of the Association of Municipalities Ontario, of the region of Waterloo, the City of Kitchener Council, that no one understands it except for this liberal minister's staffer. So I get back and I said, Art, he said, well, that's the spin they're trying to put out. So what I'd say to me is, it really is making me even more mad, because they're not even acknowledging there's a problem. And what we said is, if you didn't like Michael's bill, which would have, all it would have done is said that a municipality is not a construction company. I don't know how you can't be in support of that, but that's all it would have done. Mm-hmm. And what we end up having now is that we've said is, we don't care that if you didn't support that private member's bill, fine. But tell us what the solution is. So we want the Liberals, the NDP.
Because I know you want to get to your chamber stuff. Does that end the rant, or you want to?
We can keep going. We can keep going. One more quick thing about that Ian Staffer had an opportunity to sit down with a government staffer. I had an opportunity to sit down with our own John Malloy in the region of Waterloo, explained the situation to him, and said, if you don't like the fact that an opposition member is bringing forward a bill, why don't you just make it a government bill, but at least take care of the situation and make sure that there is fairness and openness to the tendering of contracts to municipal governments in Ontario.
Now, you're implying that he was being partisan. Did he acknowledge that in any way?
He looked at me and he said, that's an interesting idea, but I'm not sure I agree with you. Mm. So was he saying to me that he doesn't agree with fairness and open tendering? Or that he doesn't agree with taking the bill and making a government bill? I don't know which. I certainly hope it's the latter and not the first. Because every single politician I know campaigns on fairness, open and transparent government.
The bottom line is there's an election coming, and we've said this. This is the only issue we are going to highlight
as a chamber,
as both chambers, from now until the time it's solved. So if it goes
because folks, all you can look at is your neighbors. If they're in the construction business, the chances are they're not a part of the carpenters union. They won't get any work in the region.
All right, guys, what do you got coming?
Okay, well, busy week this week. It is Small Business Week. Yep. I know right across the country, and small business is the bulk of our membership, and it's the engine of the Canadian local and provincial economies. We're lucky to have the Vice President of the Business Development Bank of Canada, Marianne Wensler-Wiebe, who's going to come and talk about how BDC and its consulting services and other programs it has works with small and medium-sized business.
And what day and time would that be?
Thank you for that. October 23rd at 11:30 at the Waterloo Conference Center. We have our Home Hardware Business After 5 at Treehouse, and that is on October 29th. Our big business expo this year is on November 18th coming up. We're going to have 190 booths, a couple thousand people coming through, so great way to highlight your business. And check our website, our Manulife Academy, Chamber Academy, with lots of education.
We have a really great small business event on this Friday for a breakfast. We have Barry Moltz coming in from Chicago, flying in on American, actually, which is awesome, right to our own airport. Barry Moltz is the author of Small Town Rules, and he's going to be talking to small businesses in our community about how you can compete in the big world of business. And by the way, this is a complimentary event, so all you have to do is go online to CambridgeChamber.com, register for the event, and it's absolutely free.
When is that
and
again,
it's
Greg?
Friday morning at Holiday Inn Cambridge.
This coming Friday
morning at 7:30 at the Holiday Inn Cambridge. So just go online and register your intention to come.
Next show, we got to talk about this free trade agreement. This is huge for the region of Waterloo. We're going to spend a whole show talking about that.
For more information on the respective chambers, go to CambridgeChamber.ca. Sorry. You figured I'd have that memorized by now. CambridgeChamber.com and GreaterKWChamber.com. Thanks to our good friend from the region of Waterloo International Airport, the general manager there, Chris Wood. Thanks for coming in today. Really appreciate it.
No
Dave
problem.
McNeil, KW Oktoberfest Executive Director as well. Thanks for your time today. And John Finch of Kitchener-Wilmot Hydro. Couldn't do it without Candace Cobbing.
No, absolutely.
And Catherine Drake.
The best in show business.
Who produce this show every week for us. Thank you so much. Have a great day. You've been listening to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy.